How come narcissists never give you closure? This video is going to be a bit different because I'm going to cover a few things in a way which I haven't covered before. And not giving you closure, putting you into this endless loop. Narcissists don't ever want you to be off the hook. They don't want to shut the door to you, and they don't want your door to be shut to them. Because they never know what the future holds. And a part of them says, well, even if other areas of their life are going well now, other people maybe, other things, that could be very short-lived because they know that they can rub people up the wrong way. They have a tendency to destroy good things. So that means they always need a backup plan. And when they let somebody who was once of value to them, of good supply to them, when they let that person go, they never want to let the person go for good. And not giving you closure is their way of putting you in the perfect groove, in this perfect compartment where you're the most likely to keep your door ajar to them, and also vice versa. Because as long as something hasn't been fully resolved between you two, as long as something hasn't been fully settled, a part of you wants an answer. A part of you wants an answer, so you can never fully put it behind you. You can never put them fully behind you. And that's their objective when they discard people. They want to discard people in such a way where they don't allow the other person, in this case you, to put your relationship with the narcissist as something just of the past, as a distant memory. They like to keep it alive. And it's not just that. Obviously, when they don't give you closure, you're much more likely to ruminate on the thought of them. You're much more likely to ruminate on what went wrong in the relationship. You're much more likely to blame yourself for things. And all of that attention on them, all of that self-blame, all of that confusion, of course, is good supply for the narcissist. That intense rumination, that intense confusion, that tends to last, say, a few months after the discard. But after 6, 12, 18 months, say, after the discard, that tends to subside. But without giving you closure, even though you're not so intensely thinking about them, if they don't give you full closure, you're less likely to fully move on from them. You're less likely to fully have them as something of your past. In other words, you're keeping a part of them alive in you. You are keeping a part of the narcissist alive in you, in your present. And that's what narcissists want. They always want to be living inside you at least a little bit. In your heart, in your brain, your nostalgic thoughts. Thinking about it in rose-colored glasses. It is true, we do tend to look at the past in rose-colored glasses. If you had somebody who was a big part of your life, and let's say they caused you a lot of suffering, but you had the occasional good moments, as time goes by, you tend to look back at that and think, the 90% of the time where you were suffering, where they were being mean to you, abusive to you, you tend to forget that. You tend to remember only the 10% good times, which means the more time that passes, you're more likely to be susceptible to having them back into your life if they were ever to try. But they can more easily achieve that with you if they don't give you closure. They can more easily achieve that with you if you're left wondering about one or two or three or 10 aspects of the relationship, like why things went wrong, why they did and said certain things, were they right about certain things they said about you. They didn't give you a full explanation about why they discarded you. They probably gave some phony reason, but you're left wondering, thinking, there's more to the story than they let on. What did they leave out? What did you do to deserve it? So you wonder. You don't close the door. You don't leave it as something of your past. If narcissists were to give people full closure, if narcissists were to be upfront, just straightforward around why things didn't work out, then they'd have to move on from that person, and that person would have to move on from them, because there's nothing to reconcile later. The relationship didn't work. There were reasons for it. Both parties understood it. You processed it, and you go your own ways. Where full closure is given, it's so much easier for both parties to process why the relationship didn't work out, and it's so much easier for both parties to accept that there's no future and to move on to other people, other things, and so on. But where there are certain pieces to the puzzle that are missing, it's really hard to fully process what went wrong. It's really hard to build that kind of picture which helps you believe, this just wasn't meant to be. You're different people. They keep key pieces of the puzzle away from you. And you don't always realize it, but it's because you don't have those key pieces of information that you can't fully process what happened. You can't fully put it behind you. So they're living inside of you. And from time to time, you might find yourself ruminating on them. And ultimately, the narcissist, if other things in their lives just doesn't work out, they can always come back to you. Or at least they can have a fighting chance. So if you've ever been with a really toxic person and you're trying to move on from the person, just know one thing. You're not going to get full closure. The way they operate means they cannot give that to you. They have to keep you wondering, at least some. They have to keep you confused, at least some. That's the only way they can have their needs met. That's the only way they can make the best use of you for them. Thanks for watching.